Major breaking news. Buhari's chief of staff, Abba Kyari, dies of coronavirus. Now, this is something very serious. This is something that people shouldn't just make fun of, because I understand some people are already making fun of this thing overnight on Twitter. See, everyone understands you might have issues with the leaders, you might have issues with some of these people, but when somebody dies, at least give them the respect. So I understand that. I'm not a very big fan of the guy, neither am I a big fan of the president, but at least let's respect when somebody dies. So now we're going to be discussing the situation surrounding his death and everything that happened, so that everybody can be at least a little bit enlightened with what happened. Now, first things first, he died after contracting the coronavirus. I mean, he tested positive on 24th of March this year, that's 2020. And then yesterday, 17th April, he succumbed to the complications from the coronavirus. Now, especially, I'm going to be saying this because of those people that still think that this thing is not real. Because I understand some people were already saying it that we don't really believe that this thing is real, because some of the politicians that have been having it always get to recover from it. That's what they have been saying. But they refuse to understand that it is simply because the death rate from the thing is quite low. That's the reason. Because according to the statistics from many of the countries that have gone through the peak of this coronavirus, the case is that about 50% of the people that get the coronavirus don't even have any symptoms at all. That is asymptomatic. And even when they are asymptomatic, they can still spread it, but they themselves are asymptomatic. So they won't have any symptoms. They won't even have as much as a sniffle from it. So you won't really know that those people already had the virus. And of course, they're going to have the antibody in their body also, which means they can't even contract it anymore after that, because the coronavirus isn't mutating as much like many of other viruses. Now, that's the number one thing. And then out of the remaining 50% that will have some symptoms, about 80% of those people don't even have severe symptoms. So they're just going to have regular sniffles, they would think they just have cold and catarrh and stuff like that. And then it's the 20% that remains out of those remaining 50% that will have severe symptoms. Those are the ones that are going to need medical experts to help them out. Those are the ones that are going to need to be hospitalized. So that's the issue there. Now, and it turns out that about 99%, or as close as possible to 99% of those people who get hospitalized are within the age range of 70 and upwards. And this man was in his 70s. Very old man, very aged man. So that's the issue with this entire thing. It's one of the reasons why he actually succumbed to it. Most people that are old enough tend to succumb to this thing, because it's kind of like the sweet spot of the virus is when you are old enough, because your immune system would have been compromised a little bit. Then you might have had some pre-existing conditions, maybe heart issues. After living a very long life, you probably have heart issues, probably have lung issues, cholesterol issues, so many things like that going on in your body. So those are the things that accumulate together to allow this thing to have more effect on you if you're old enough. And of course, people that are young but have pre-existing conditions like diabetes are going to be much more vulnerable to this virus. So that's the reason. Honestly, that's the reason why he succumbed to the virus. Now, I'm not saying there couldn't have been any young person without any pre-existing condition that could have died from this thing, but it's very low. So that's just, as much as we use this as a wake-up call for us to understand that this thing is real and people die from this thing. I mean, it's real. There's no film trick about this. There's nobody trying to trick you with this thing. We have somebody, a major political individual in the entire nation dying from this thing. So it's not somebody trying to trick you. It's not somebody. So forget about all those conspiracy theories about 5G and all that crappy nonsense. This is for real. So everybody try to hunker down, make sure you protect your family members, stay safe, stay home, stay safe. I understand it's very difficult for you to stay home, especially if you eat based on what you do every day. Like you have to go out every single day to eat, to fend for yourselves and stuff like that. But this thing is very real. I understand the death rate is quite low, but the thing with statistics is that even if you say that it's 1 in a million, you might be that one. That's just the fact. You might be that one. So it turns out that Abba Kyari is one of the whatever low percentage of people that are going to die from the virus after contracting it. It's very sad. This man has family members. This man has people around, wives, children. So as much as we may detest some of the things that the administration had done, make sure that you at least reflect on this thing. The virus is very real. People are dying from it. And of course, I'm going to mention again that, of course, it's within the age range, like I said. Another thing there is that for you to understand that this thing is not somebody trying to trick you, because something else that they said is that, oh yeah, it's because he was not able to travel out of the country. So if there was no lockdown, he would have been able to travel out of the country, for the medical tourism and stuff like that. But you have to understand that even for people that are not very rich in Nigeria, even for people that are not among the upper class in Nigeria, some of these people are getting treated in Nigeria. So it's not that terrible. You have to understand that most of those people dying, even in the developed countries, it's not always because they were not given medical attention in those places. It's because the thing was so severe in them that they could not survive it despite everything given to them. Most of those people were placed on ventilators. So they were placed on ventilators. That is, they were intubated. Despite that, they still died from it. So you just have to understand that, which means, for example, Abba Kyari must have been placed on ventilators. Despite that, he could not make it. So you just have to understand it's not because our medical facilities here are so inferior. Of course, they are inferior compared to those other places. But even in those other places, people still die despite all this medical care. So you have to understand that. Anyway, I'm going to be updating you on some other things going on around the country. So thank you very much, and stay safe. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's going to help the channel to grow. And bye.